BBC 1151 kilohertz, where news comes first.
And at 7:30 we take a look at the latest news. Crowds are pouring into London this morning as the capital prepares itself for today's Jubilee celebrations. The Queen and members of the royal family will drive in-state from Buckingham Palace this morning to St Paul's Cathedral for a Thanksgiving service. And people have been sleeping out on the pavements along the procession route to be sure of a good view when the Queen passes by. Prince Charles will be following the state coach on Centennial, the horse presented to the Queen by the Canadian Mounties just a few weeks back.
A very good morning to you. This is Desmond Lynham welcoming you to Royal London on Jubilee Day to celebrate 25 years of the reign of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, a day of pageantry, thanksgiving and joy. I hope you'll share these historic moments with us here on Radio 4. Well, very soon the royal procession will begin to leave Buckingham Palace to make its way through the streets of London to St Paul's Cathedral for the service of Thanksgiving. Well, I'm afraid the weather hasn't been too kind so far. We've had some showers and it's rather cold, but we're hoping that the skies will clear as the day goes on. Among the crowds outside the palace, the London residence of British monarchs since Victoria's time, is Alan Williams.
Where I'm happy to say the sun is shining and the royal standard flutters busily high above the palace, against a background of a sky which has some blue in it, although there is a lot of cloud. But it's not only the Queen that's in residence. Of the many thousands outside the palace here, many have been here all night, including an 80-year-old pensioner who took up her station by Canada Gate across the road there at midnight. Although for the most part it's a young crowd, and this was epitomized by a sign that was hoisted in the crowd just about 15 minutes ago: Lilibet rules, okay. Well, now, there's a triple guard of honor drawn up right across the pavement in front of the palace. We've seen some of the carriages going in. Very soon they'll be coming out again with their very important occupants. We wait for that now here at the bottom of the Mall. Alan Williams, outside Buckingham Palace.
You could also perhaps say that Lilibet rules UK. The procession will move up the Mall under Admiralty Arch and will then come into the sight of Judith Chalmers, who's perched, I think, on one of those lions by the fountains at Trafalgar Square. Good morning, Judy.
Hello, Desmond. I am indeed sitting between the front paws of one of the 4 reclining Lancia lions that flank the mighty Nelson's column, which is towering some 170 feet up above my head. Ahead of me is Whitehall, and through the colourful red, silver and green banners, beyond the trees, with their leaves dappled in sunshine at the moment, I can see the face of Big Ben showing 10:15. Behind me, there's the National Gallery, the pealing bells you can hear of St Martin's in the Fields. To the left is the Strand, down which the royal procession will make its way towards the city. And to the right, Admiralty Arch, built in memory of Queen Victoria when they constructed the Mall at the turn of the century. The crowd here is absolutely tremendous, a sea of people. Alan said he had young folk. I have young and old, Londoners, visitors from many parts of this country and indeed from many nations. The flags are waving in the children's hands, cameras are at the ready, everybody very excited and expectant, cheering everything, even the municipal dust cart as it went by, putting a final polish on the Jubilee route. This is Judith Chalmers in Trafalgar Square.
Well, now, you may have heard the Guard of Honor being called to attention, and this will mean that we're about to see the first carriage procession of members of the royal family. That was the guards in the centre, and we can see through the archway in the centre there. And in a moment we'll see the first of the 6 state landors coming out into the forecourt. They will then swing right and away towards our left. We're here at the Victoria Memorial, and they will then come out through the south centre gate of the forecourt. And now here's the first carriage, and in it, the Princess Anne, Mrs. Mark Phillips, and Captain Mark Phillips. She looks well. That's not surprising, is it? Now, I'm not going to attempt to describe what she's wearing. There's a lady in Trafalgar Square called Judith Chalmers who's going to do that far better than I can. But she smiles now, looks towards the crowd here, round the memorial. Captain Mark Phillips in his army uniform. Behind them now, the second carriage with the Princess Margaret, the Countess of Snowdon. I can say she's in pink, I can tell you that much. And with her, Princess Alice, the Duchess of Gloucester, the Viscount Linley, and Lady Sarah Armstrong-Jones. Immediately behind them, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. And the Duke, I think in civilian clothing, I'm not sure. And no, he's just put his top hat back on. Yes, he is. And the Duchess in bright yellow, I would say. Behind them, the fourth carriage, the Duke of Kent in a guards officer's uniform, with the Duchess, the Earl of St Andrews, Lord Nicholas Windsor, and Lady Helen Windsor. They sit there facing their parents. In the fifth carriage, Princess Alexandra, always a favourite with the crowd, the Honourable Mrs. Angus Ogilvy. With her, the Honourable Angus Ogilvy, Mr. James Ogilvy, and Miss Marina Ogilvy. And behind them, the sixth carriage with the Prince Michael of Kent and Admiral of the Fleet, the Earl Mountbatten of Burma. And it's great to see him here again on one of these royal occasions.
Who's a lucky baby then? Who's got his very own Jubilee crown?
You too can get a Jubilee crown absolutely free for your baby.